So, mate, how things going, mate? Everything okay?
Yeah, we're doing good. God, it's so busy. I
Oh, mate,
just can't
yeah, I was
believe
gonna say.
I
You
can't,
look tired.
I've got I've got 12 full-time jobs, it feels like. So
Yeah,
um, but yeah, things are good.
good,
It's
mate.
just moving between setting up the shop with the new equipment and getting everything completed for the Kickstarter
Yeah,
that I did, and then always pushing every project forward at once while shuffling my real job and kids and wife and all that. So it's a lot, but everything's moving forward. So
yep. With
it's
every
good.
photo we see online, and when you release something, and it's really, really promising and very encouraging to see it still moving forward. But like you say, you're a one-man operation, so it does take time to get these things out and that kind of thing. Yeah.
It does. And as far as social media goes, I've been real quiet since the first of the year, and it's not because we've been sitting on our hands or anything. It's just honestly been I've got I've got so many releases to prep and get ready. Um, I'm working on profiles for all these new releases, shuffling around in the background with the sculptors and getting them painted and photographed. And it's just there's so much background work that happens that most people just have no idea about. So
Yeah.
and I probably need to share more of that. I just don't ever know who cares, you
Mate,
know.
I care. So share
Yeah,
with me.
I,
I'm very
I
interested.
always make that comment, and then everyone's like, "Yeah, we care. Show it."
Yeah, yeah.
So I know, and I also want to just do a lot of just more. I used to do so many more fun pictures of just setting up like scenes and stuff, and just fun photography. So now that my shop's kind of getting back in order again, because it was torn up. I had it all laid out one way. And then when you're going to add a whole molding and casting area to it, and it's got and casting is dirty because you're dealing with talc powder with all the molds, and that talc powder gets everywhere. So I had to basically create walls in a whole new room just for that, and everything got shuffled around. It was such a mess. Um, for a while there, when I'd get an order in, it was just kind of like, okay, I got to shuffle these things around to get over here and this, and it was nuts. But I'm pretty OCD with how organized I like to be with my stuff, so it was driving me nuts for about 3 or 4 months. But we're back in order now.
Yeah, it sounds
So
like you're in a good place now, mate. Yeah, so that's good.
yeah, 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 definitely.
Yeah.
Um,
Now
but
we
yeah, there's just so much that's just been um, I don't know, building up in the back that's going to be released. And I'm just excited about this year and everything coming out. So
Yeah, we did see a very nice banner pic on social media of a Cadwellon range of
yeah,
that I think Dennis has produced for you. Is that right?
that's right.
Dennis
And
Company.
that doesn't even show there's a really great magician that Dennis sculpted. It's a Gary Chalk design. It's gorgeous. He did a fantastic job with it. Um, it was one of the ones that was it in the handbook for Cadwallon or one of the secrets? I think it was in the handbook for Cadwallon, and it only showed him to about his chest. And so I was like, Gary, was this a full drawing or just this? And he's like, oh no, it's a full one. He's like, let me go dig in my files, and I'm not kidding. He has so many confrontation and Cadwallon concepts. It's just he needs to get them all scanned in. I'm scared if he has a fire because his filing system is just boxes in his studio.
Yeah.
And they would all be gone if there was a fire. But he dug it out and it was the full figure. So I gave that to Dennis. And Gary's been great about um for sculptors, it's very helpful if they have a sketch of the back as well, because they want to know what's going on back there. And for everything that we've been doing, Gary's been just great. He does a great little sketch. In fact, I tell him just to do a real fast sketch, and he can't. He has to do an actual drawing. And that's really fun to watch because, getting the back from him in an email, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, this is as good as the front. It's like, but I can't really just put the back of a guy in a book or something though. It's just not that interesting, but it's phenomenal. He's phenomenal to work with. And then we have a whole artillery piece. We have a war machine. It's an organ cannon, and it's Gary's design. And that was supposed to be attached to the army of Cadwallon, which he has a whole ton of concepts for. Conscripts and generals and commanders. And this is one of the 2 war machines for Cadwallon. So we're going to do this one first, and we'll bring the other one out later. But it's got 3 crew members, and we finished up the rules for it probably about a month ago, and we've been play testing it. Each war machine on the back of the card will have its own set of rules on how to use it, and we're trying to make them really fun without being OP and just too tanky. But that's been a lot of fun to do. So that's coming out too. It's not even on that flyer. We also have a bunch of Darkness Forces coming out. We have the Mantis House Guards, which I think everyone has seen those sculpts a while back. I haven't wanted to bring those out yet until I can bring out a full set of Acheron, because I don't want. I like to bring things out as a collection, because especially for people in Europe and Australia and all that, if they're going to pay the shipping, I want them to have a lot to be able to add onto their cart. So we've got the Reapers of Acheron coming out. Those just finished sculpting probably a month ago, which nobody's even seen those yet. What else we got? I've got 2 zombie Cesar giants for Acheron. So that was kind of me going Game of Thronesy with the the undead army there. So it'll be fun to field those guys along with a bunch of other skellies and stuff. And then we've got about 4 other units in the works. I teased a picture to the guys of one of the commanders. I'm not going to say who that is yet. And then we started sculpting some griffins as well, which you've seen, and you're going to get very familiar with them.
I am. Thank you very much, Kyle, for that opportunity, because
I was going back and forth with the sculptor today, and he just finished that second one that I shot over to you, and they're looking really cool.
Oh, that was awesome, mate.
Yeah. I wanted them to look almost as cool as, the Praetorians. I think we're getting there, especially because when you're looking at it on your phone, you're probably scaling in and it's, like this big, when in reality, that guy's going to be all that detail gets packed into that little tiny body right there.
Mm-hmm.
And, painting up all those little pieces on them and everything and the highlights, I think they're going to look so cool. And we've got a lot more to do on the Griffins. And I'm trying to not get too far ahead of myself, but it is good for me as I'm building the profiles for these and putting them with old profiles I'm building that for the existing line. It's good because in my big, giant, huge spreadsheet that I have where I'm doing all this, it's nice to see where some holes are, how they can fill in, and then how they play slightly differently with some different abilities than like a Praetorian or something like that. Because that way you don't want it to be just another one of those. You want it to have a different feel to it. And that's a lot of it. And that's a whole bunch of work that has to happen to get all that to feel right. But it's a ton of fun. I love it. I haven't lost any energy at all. As far as the rules go, every single day something is added in there. Something is reread and edited and corrected or whatever. It's going through the layout phase right now, which I keep rearranging and rearranging and rearranging, but I'm a little bit of a perfectionist in that. Still waiting on some art pieces from some guys to get finished, but there's a ton of art in it already. I've got first 6 scenarios in there fleshed out, and I've got 3 mini campaigns that are going to be in it that are 3 scenarios each. And I've got the first one of that fully fleshed out. Me and my game group, I don't know if they're going to get so sick of me and Continuum because, we play a ton of games, but I'm always just like, hey, I got more stuff to play test. I want to come over. So it's kind of dominated the last year or so of their lives, but they've been great sports about it, and they know the game so well now. It's fun to play it with them, and their whole job is to break it, and usually when we play now, we just play. There's really not a lot of breaking anymore. Occasionally we'll stumble upon an ability and we'll be like, yeah, that wording's a little weird, or something like that, and we'll change it, and then I'll pray that it hasn't already been put on a printed card. But things like that happen. That's just part of making a game, and
Yeah.
I'll be the first to admit when it gets released, it's not going to be perfect. It'll be as perfect as we can get it, but I mean, even the largest companies in the world release, and then there's immediately an errata.
Yeah.
And I hope that's not the case, to too much of an extent. But I know that a couple little things somebody will run into some situation that we didn't think of, even though I try to look at the weird erratas for tons of games to see what weird situations people are running into. But there's just no way we can think of it all. But we try.
Great, man. That's awesome. Yeah, so the game's still in development, which is really good to hear. And I know it's progressing really well, as you say. But this year at Adepticon, you are going to come down there to show off some of not the actual game itself, but some of the rule mechanics and that kind of thing. Is that right?
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll probably show, most of it off. What I'm going to do is kind of run through the 10,000-foot view of the game, what it's about. Is it 4.5? Is it 5.0? No, it's entirely its own animal. There is, a nod to the past with the combat mechanic, but beyond that, there's not very much that's the same. It's slick, it's quick, it's brutal, it's fun, it's very thematic. It's basically the game you'd want to play if you had a bunch of buddies over, and it's like, look, we have an hour and a half, and I'm going to teach you how to play it in that time, and we're going to play the game in that amount of time. And it's just, it's not rules light, but it's really quick to catch on, especially if you've played war games before, to the core of the rules. And then the rest of it just sort of kind of flows naturally. But I'll go into warband creation, the 2 different styles of commanders you can build. You can build a warrior commander or a magician commander. So you can take those 2 different paths. And then there's 2 different builds you can do based on those 2 different paths. And, we'll just kind of go into what it looks like, how the game scales. You can play it pretty small, which in the future, there'll be kind of a dungeon crawl sort of scenario book that comes out to show you how to play a dungeon crawl with it, with a couple rule variations. But it's very scalable. You can easily go from 6 models to 10 to 15 models. And then I've got it all, you can go as big as you want. You could have 50 per side, and it goes pretty quick still. Now the more units you have, the more combat you're going to have, and it takes more time. But if you want to have a big stinking war with this game, you can do it. It scales well. We've tried it about 2 or 3 times now, and it's been pretty fun. But yeah, so I'm going to walk them through uh, the 10,000 foot view, the warband creation, and then we'll probably go through a whole turn, and I'll show them what that looks like, core mechanics. I'll go through the magic system and kind of what it's like, and they'll probably be like, "Wow, that seems really straightforward," which is exactly what I want it to be. I don't want people flipping back and forth in the book. I want you to read it, and I think after the first 2 turns, most people will be like, "Yeah, we got it. Now we can just have fun." And that's what I like in war games, and hopefully others do too.
Cool, that sounds great. Now,
Yeah.
is this a D6 based system or is it D10?
Your tests will all be on a D10,
Mm-hmm.
and your combat will be again similar to Confrontation. It's 2D6s.
Is it
So
one's a fail, six a crit?
so ones are always a fail. Sixes are not
Yeah.
always a crit, but
Right.
ones are always a fail because
Jeremy won't be pleased to hear that, I'm sure.
there are so with certain abilities,
Yeah.
if you roll a 6, or even a 5 or a 6, depending on what ability you have,
Mm.
that does allow you to explode it and roll it again. So it just depends on what abilities you have.
Because one thing I like about Confrontation is that at its core, like in the early days before the big black book, they had just the little booklets, and you just read the rules, and you'd get the sort of core mechanics down. It's just
Yep.
all the abilities and how they interact with each other. I suppose Continuum's kind of in that same vein where you have a very sort of a pretty tight core game system, and then sort of the models and profiles they add sort of more and more detail and more complexity to the game. Would that be a fair assessment?
That's 100%. The core mechanics are very straightforward. It's the profiles and the abilities that make it unique.
That's cool.
And the big thing about Continuum, it's how you build your commander too.
Right.
How you build your commander, it kind of states how the rest of your warband can be built. If your commander is a magician, you cannot take a magician as a character. You can take a warrior mage, but you can't take another full magician. So Continuum also sort of limits having tons of magic.
Right.
It's got enough of it in there to feel good and feel like you're using it, but it's not. No one's going to be overwhelmed with the amount of magic flying around on the board. I want it to still be pretty rank and file, good slug amount, some shooting, some bows, some fusiliers, and then some magic thrown in there. Because when it comes to magic, I'm a little bit more kind of Lord of the Ringsy with it, where it's not the dominating force, but it's there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I was designing Continuum, I wanted it to be everything I loved about every war game I've ever played, and I just wanted to mash it all together and put it to the world of Arclash. And so narrative play has always been really fun for me. And one of the things that I've never liked about Confrontation is the board size. I don't like basically the 2 foot by 4 foot. It's a bowling alley. Every every single game I watch online of people playing it, it's the same look. Everyone right in the middle,
Yep.
boom.
That's
And
right.
then it's an hour of figuring out what's happening right there.
Yeah.
And it's fun if you're playing it. If you're watching it, it's not that exciting.
Be like
I
Blood Bowl.
want guys moving all around the board.
Yeah.
we got to go visit this house over here. There's something in it, things are over here, and we got it. And it's just, you're all over the place. I like a lot of movement. Um, so the board size that, we suggest is a 3x3. Some of them will play better on a 3x4, but you'll be able to play all of them on a 3x3, and it just gives you a little more width, a little more breathing room to deploy. And not only that, it gives you a lot more room to do some interesting scenarios where one army starts out right in the middle, and it's kind of monkey in the middle type thing, and then they start out surrounded. So it's kind of a base defense type scenario.
Right.
But yeah, that's what I love, is the whole narrative side of it and the fun. I mean, sometimes it's fun too. Just, hey, you're over here on this side and I'm on this side, and we're gonna. Yeah. I mean, honestly, that's how we play test a lot of profiles, just to see how they work. But you can do that a few times, and it's kind of like, all right, I want to. How about something a little more?
Yeah.
And if you've played a lot of war games, which I have, I'm kind of past just the you line up your army and I'll line up mine. Mostly because my friends that play, they mostly just use my stuff. Very few of them show up with their own armies. So I'm basically designing all the armies, and I know exactly what the other one's going to do on the other side. But when you add in a whole scenario narrative, that changes it all. You have no idea what could happen then.
Yeah.
There is also a feature of the game that you can play or not play, but at the end of the turn, there's a random event table that you roll on. And that adds a really cool fog of war to the game, where it makes it hard to game the system with a build, because you might come in with a lot of shooters, and you might roll on the table, and all of a sudden a fog's rolled in, and now your visibility is only 8 inches.
All right.
And it's like, oh, well, there went my whole plan of being able to shoot across the board. So I've always loved games that have kind of a random event table. Again, you don't have to do that in the game. You can skip over that at the end of the turn. But when we've played, I love games where you have that woo-paw moment, where it's just everyone's like, oh, yes, or oh, no. That just adds so much drama to the game, and adds a lot of fun to it. So
that's good.
we tend to play with it in there, and I've had a lot of fun coming up with all the crazy stuff that can happen on the board. Yeah, and for the tournament players out there, they'll probably be a little sad. Continuum is not really built for tournament. Could you play tournaments with it? Sure. And I've even thought about, in the core book, there will be 2 core commander profiles. If you didn't want to build one and you just wanted to pick one real quick to go play, I've thought, man, I guess that's a way you could do a tournament, so that it kind of evens it up for people, that they'd have to pick one of those core commanders and then build their army off of that and do it. But it's not really meant for that. It's meant to have fun and go on an adventure.
Yeah, and now when you go to Adepticon, of course, you'll be bringing your stand, your shop. You'll be able to buy miniatures of yours. Is that right?
No, not this year. So I'm not going to have a booth this year, just because I don't feel like I have enough stuff at the moment to fill out a booth, and it's almost a full week commitment to do that, to get up there and set it all up before, and I'm right now I'm working hard to fulfill my Kickstarter for the King Arthur stuff, and between that and just working on the background stuff for all these releases, I just couldn't get it done this year. Next year, though, it should be a pretty full booth. I plan to have a booth and be doing demos there. And the goal is next year that there's a nice chunky rule book that you can buy as well.
Yeah, mate, that'd be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll be there. I've told people if they want to, I just have $5 flat shipping in the US. I keep it pretty cheap because it's not that expensive to ship here. But if you want to get product from me and save $5, I'll lug it up there. I'm not worried about it. I'll definitely bring orders up there if people want to do it that way. But I'm just there. I've got so many connections I have to meet there. There's just a slew of people that I've got to meet with while I'm there. It's gonna feel like more like a work conference, but
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm excited to do the demo and meet a lot of the community I've never met before, and for me, it's just a fun trade show as well. I like to go
Yeah.
around and check out all the other booths and everybody. So
Absolutely,
it'll
mate.
be a good time.
Be wild, mate. Be awesome. Now,
Yeah, and if anyone out there sees the guy walking around in this shirt, it's me. Come say
indeed.
hi. I might have something free in my bag you can have.
Whoa,
So
that's
yeah.
even more reason to come and say hello to you, mate. That's awesome. So yeah, so I'll leave links, of course, to the store at Temple of the West, so you can check out either the Continuum line or the other lines you have there as well. So that's all really cool. So you mentioned that you based, you when you were designing Continuum, you wanted to bring in all the elements of all the greatest games you've ever played. So my next question will be, what are your favorite games?
Uh, so one of the guys I partnered with for the King Arthur project was Daniel Mercy. He is I call him kind of one of the big three because you got Rick Priestley, you've got Jarvis Johnson, and you've got Daniel Mercy, and those three guys all together have probably written at least half the rule sets out there. I mean, they've written so many, and I've really, really always enjoyed Dan's Dragon Rampant game, which is a variation of Lion Rampant. It's published by Osprey, and that's one of the games I always loved. It's quick to learn, and just the way it flows and the combat and the activation system, um, it's just really smooth, and I can see why it's lasted the test of time. I mean, Lion Rampant's I think 12 or 13 years old now. It just came out with the second edition, and it's just plugging along. And other games I like to play, Rangers of Shadow Deep, Frostgrave. Those are all big inspirations for me. I've played some Oathmark. I've played some Warhammer third edition years ago. I never really got very far with it, but I'm trying to think what else. I have so many rule sets that I've read, but I haven't actually put it to the table yet.
Okay, so yeah, going by what you just said there, I can tell that a lot of those skirmish games that you mentioned have a strong narrative theme. So that's probably why the
Mhm.
influences are there for Continuum too.
Yeah.
So that's good. That's really encouraging to hear. So, yeah, mate, look, I'm really looking forward to it. I know a lot of other guys out there are looking forward to it too. So I hope at the Crane of Command we can help each other in sort of just getting this news out slowly as it comes along, and bring out some nice photos of the models, and get people excited about what's going to come, hopefully, later this year or next year. And you can just take it step by step, mate, and just go from there.
Yeah. All right.
All right, Kyle. Well, thank you very much for coming on again, and it's really good to talk to you. And wish you all the best at Adepticon, mate.
All right. Hey, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. It's been way too long. I've been trying to get on here, but it just hasn't worked out. But I'm glad we were able to make it work tonight.
No, thanks.
For
Thanks
sure.
again for your time, mate. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, take care, mate.